I'll ask the Executive Director, Afro Heritage, Professor Ofo Okeke Ozadike, to join us for his welcome address.
Honorable and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to this particular event. The Big Ideas Podium for us is an important platform for all kinds of reasons, which I will not get into right now because I think we've started slightly a bit later than we had anticipated. But at the heart of what we do, it's really an interest in trying to basically nudge government towards what we believe are the right kinds of policies for national integration, for national transformation, and of course for development. Quite often I have tried to engage on this platform by pointing to some of the challenges that are facing our country. Nigeria is a country that is under siege. This is not something that just started now. It's something that has been the case going back years. Of late though, the siege has sort of taken different forms. Forms that point to a whole lot of dysfunctions within our country. Siege that point largely to challenges of management. How well those in positions of authority, here I'm talking primarily about the political elite, our political leaders, and I may need to put that in quotes, leaders who have led, but not necessarily from the front, who have led not necessarily with the Constitution in mind, but their personal interests. The net outcome of this has been a country that has now basically moved in directions that are completely unhealthy for any country. We find ourselves increasingly in an environment where life itself is at risk for all kinds of reasons. Bandits, Boko Haram, and the unknown gunman or gunmen claims. We need to be asking ourselves fundamental questions about why this is actually happening. From where I sit, I see the Constitution as an important part of this. We had in 1999 a constitution that nobody has really claimed. Certainly the average citizen in this country does not claim it. And it turns out many of those who actually are governing are also not claiming it. Because if they're claiming it, they will live by it. They will respect it. They will work with it in a way that actually demonstrates commitment. They will defend it as well. So the net effect of what we have is a situation where those people who strongly disagree with what's going on are saying in different ways, through violence, through refusal to be identified or to take up the idea of being a Nigerian. Nigerianness is now in question in this country. That's why social groups are saying, cultural groups are saying, look, we want out. But a constitution is meant to do a number of things. I'll just talk to those things very quickly because of time. A constitution is meant to set out rights of individuals. It is meant also to capture key national goals. It is meant to embody the public will. And as I just said, the public in this country does not seem to will this particular constitution. It also is meant to provide rules about citizenship and coexistence between cultural groups. And of course, more importantly, it sets out clearly the roles of government. Here in this country, we have all kinds of dynamics that point to the lack of clarity regarding this particular issue. Separation of powers is a key example. Powers are not clearly separated. So you have a situation where the executive branch is absolutely dominating the other two branches. The issue of federalism is also there, and so many other issues. Those are some of the kinds of things that I hope that we will actually get around to talking about today. But for me, the question of the lack of clearly cut out goals is crucial. Because if it's actually happening, we will see it reflected in the way we live as Nigerians. We'll see it in the way organizations operate as Nigerian organizations. We'll see it in the way we train our kids at school, at universities, that the curricula will actually capture this fundamentally. But our curricula across many of our institutions actually are not embedded in the constitutional imperatives. They are not. And we are now in an era where the citizens are facing challenges of different kinds regarding health. Universities are not, and many schools are not operating normally. And I've been asking myself, what sort of plans are these institutions making to get us back into some sort of constitutional frame? Because when you have problems in a country where the institutions that embed the values of the country are operating, you expect them to look for solutions. What are the solutions coming from our educational institutions, our universities? What solutions actually are coming from them? Are they actually having these meetings and engaging adequately in regard to trying to make a return back to some kind of normalcy, if there was actually ever any normalcy in this country over the past several decades? I don't think we've had that normalcy. So people are reaching out basically in the dark. No leadership, no real thrust to permanently solve the problems of this country. In other countries, you take America, for example, you take countries like South Africa that are struggling, or Ghana, closer to us. You see a more robust engagement with the values of the country, the drivers of the claims that the country is making about its system. What are our claims in Nigeria? And how have our institutions, the police, the army, the various organizations that are doing business here, how are schools at all levels, how have they embedded or are embedding the values that we say are important in this country? The Constitution lays those things out and encourages people to embrace them. And in turn, they defend the Constitution because they support it. I wish that we have answers for this. But these are things that I feel should be on the table so that when we talk about this going forward, when we talk about trying to develop curricula at schools, that we actually know what's supposed to be done, because in other countries they're doing this. They don't just teach a course. They teach a course with an objective. And the objective must be sort of embedded in the values that are seen as important within the particular country in question. We can do the same thing. Because through that, you begin to train Nigerians, people who will live for the country, work for the country, and obviously defend the country. Many Nigerians outside of this country would prefer not to be linked to Nigeria. You saw the recent Olympics. Sometimes Nigerians were, competing against Nigerians who are competing for other countries. It is most unfortunate that this is an issue that we have to talk about. But really, the point here is that we must do better than we are currently doing. We have a very wonderful group of people to talk about this. And it's not my responsibility to talk about them immediately, but I just want to say that I really wish to thank the NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, specifically the Ikeja branch, who are partnering with us in this particular endeavor. We thank them profusely for their participation. I think they bring a wonderful group of people who will do justice to this particular topic. So in anticipation of this, I want to give ground, but really I want to say a big thank you to all of you for spending this time with us. I think your presence really does elevate what we are looking to do. So thank you so much, and I look forward to a wonderful, wonderful engagement. Dalono.